Okay, so today we're working on the 1-4 vocab support. Make sure you put your class period. Make sure you put your class period, like 5 or whatever. So this part is in your vocab support. Remember, if you wanted to, you could have made a Quizlet with this and said, like, one of these is a term, and then on the back of it put the description. So if you're into Quizlet, you can always use that. I'm just using this worksheet for now. So this says 2 angles whose measures have a sum of 180. If it's a sum of 180, then we talked about that being the supplement, right? So we're going to put supplementary angle. Supplementary angle. So that's one of your definitions. And then 2 angles whose measures are a sum of 90 would be complementary. So you can see the spelling up there. complementary. I guess this should be plural. Angles. Angles. Bless you. The next one, 2 angles whose sides are opposite rays. What do y'all think? Yeah, very good. Vertical angles. Vertical angles. Awesome. And 2 angles that share a side but do not overlap. Yeah, adjacent. Very good. Adjacent angles. And then a ray that divides one angle into 2 angles with the same measure, that'd be the bisector. Angle bisector. Okay, so we've got the first 5 done. Any questions about those? Okay. Now, still using those blanks or word bank, it says choose a word from the list to complete each sentence. If the measure of one angle in a pair of blank is n, the other is 180 minus n. So since it's 180, then this would be the supplementary angles. So the Math Excel example, I'll just write down a couple of lines. One of them says 17 times greater than the supplement. And so how we go about that is x equals 17, 180 minus x. It says times, so we're multiplying, and supplement, so we're doing 180 minus x. So that's how it's related. I'm not going to solve out the whole thing right now, but you would end up with x is 170. The supplement would be 10, which is actually the first answer in the Math Excel. And then it says the other angle, which is also like the x. So that's just a little example. Anytime there's a Math Excel, they're going to have a different number. So, I didn't bother writing out everything, but that's the idea. You would distribute and then divide by 18. I guess I'll put this little part. 30, 60 divided by 18. Yeah, 30, 60 divided by 18, which is 170. Any questions? Okay. Okay, so then blank never share a side. That's vertical angles. And the angle symbol is fine, or you can write out the word. It's kind of like a less than sign, it's just a little lower. And then what always shares a side? Any ideas? Yeah, bisector does, but what they're looking for is adjacent. I see where you're going though. But yeah, they want adjacent angles. Adjacent angles. Okay, now on number 9 and 10, they want you to draw the angle bisector. I'm going to let y'all do this very easy as far as just find the middle and draw it. But I will go through what I did with second period. I'm going to show using the compass. I don't expect y'all to buy a compass. You don't have to use the compass. You're actually going to see how clumsy it is. But I got it done. So the first thing you do is you put your dot like from the tip there, and then draw a little arc like that. Okay? And then what you do is pick a point and then cross it like that. And then that's your intersection point. And so then from here to here, that becomes your bisector. Now, I don't expect y'all to do that, but again, there's that. You could have also done it by using your protractor, and if you put your circle there and line it up, then you can see this matches to the 140, and so that means the bisector would be at 70, and it is. So that's how you know that we did it perfect. So the total equal 140. So each small parts are 70. Again, you don't have to be that accurate, but what I would want you to do is draw an arc on both of them to show that they match. Arc shows they're equal. So just draw a line and then put an arc for each one to show that they're equal. Okay, now this one, I'm just going to do this one a simpler way, like we said, just like you guys. I'm just going to kind of estimate it. The middle is about right there, and then I'm just going to do it. Okay. And again, put one mark and one mark. And I'm not going to bother measuring for that one. So what I did is I put a dot, what's called equidistant, like equal distances between the arc, and then just connected it. Because any 2 points make a line, so I was able to draw that, and I know it's pretty accurate. So, any questions? All right. The next part, which of the following are a pair of vertical angles? So we've talked about vertical angles as when you either have an X or a plus sign situation. And so looks like this and this. So GBA is one of them, so it's not going to be C or D. Remember, we rule out choices. And then what's the other one? Is it CBJ or is it GBM? Correct. Yeah, because GBM would be adjacent. Yeah, so that's definitely A. Good job. Okay, number 12, which of the following are supplementary? So that means adds up to 180 or makes a straight line. So we would either have this one, which makes a straight line, or we would have this one, which makes a straight line. By the way, the size of the arc doesn't matter either. I'm just showing you a couple of choices there. So they're talking about GBA for these first two. And so if it's GBA, then it would have to be GBC for it to be a straight line. So GBA and GBC. Okay, it's neither of these choices. And I do see that these are identical on H and J, so we'll cross out the last one. So this one would be ABM. Then it would be MBC. So that's going to be H. Okay, very good. Now the next part is the reteaching. So you can read all about it. This is your adjacent angles. This is an example of overlapping. And this is vertical angles, and this is not vertical angles. Even though they're across from each other, they're not the same size. Okay? So then this says use the diagram at the right, name an angle that is adjacent to ABE. If it's adjacent, then two of the letters have to stay the same. So if it's ABE, which is this one, then it will be EBF, EBF, or EBC. Either of those would work. Any questions on one? EBF or EBC? Okay, then it says name an angle that overlaps ABE. Okay, so you're using the same angle, and what they're looking for the overlap is either start with D, because D is on the interior of ABE, or a bigger one. So I'm going to start with DBF as one example. Another example would be ABF, because if you have ABE, then ABF would overlap. So either of those work. Any questions? Okay. Okay, then number 2, mark DOE and its vertical angle as congruent angles. So DOE is here, and so then it's here. And so that's AOB. Remember, you could reverse your first and third letter, but the pivot or turn, the vertex has to stay the same. And then AOE is here. I'm going to mark that with 2 marks. So would it be the 90-degree angle, or would it be DOB? Yeah, it'd be the DOB for that one. DOB. Because they not only have to be across from each other, they also have to be the same size. All right, very well. Now let's go to this part. And here you can see about supplementary angles. And it says in both figures, you got 120 and 60. So these were not vertical angles, but they actually were supplementary in this case because of the numbers involved. And then same thing here. They have 60 and 30, which means it's 90. And this is 60, and this is 30, which means the inside would be 90. So those are things we would know, and that's just the notes. Number 3, label angle ABD as 1. Okay, so it's there. I'm just going to put a little check mark. Label an angle that is supplementary to ABD as 2. So if it's supplementary to ABD, yeah, it's got to be DBC. Perfect. DBC. And I guess I got to put a 2 here, but it's this whole thing. Okay, label 3 as an angle that is adjacent and complementary. So next to and adds up to 90 to this. So this must be this angle that they're talking about. So that's DBE. DBE. Any questions about that? DBE. Okay, then for this one, label angle 4 is a second angle that is complementary to DBE. So since we know that it had to be 30, it's going to be this other one that's 30 over here. And so I'm going to call that FBC. FBC. Any questions? Okay, then it says name an angle that is supplementary to ABE. So first we figure out what ABE is, and we know it's 60 plus 30, which is 90. And so supplementary to that 90-degree angle would be the other 90-degree angle. So that's, yeah, EBC. Good. And then complementary to EBF. EBF would be this 30 or that 30. So FBC or EBD. FBC or EBD. Any questions about those? Okay. And remember, your first and third letters could switch. That doesn't matter. But your middle had to be B on all of them. Okay, so that's the reteaching. Now there's a little bit on think about a plan. Think about a plan. So it's basically one question, and they want you to work through it, and then here's the final answer. So there's lots of like intermediate answers, so to speak. So the first thing says, when BX bisects ABC, so I'm going to put the little marks there, ABX is congruent to CBX. One student claims there is always a related equation that ABX, which is a smaller one, equals half of the big. So I'm going to say small equals 1/2 of the big. Another student claims the related equation is 2 times the small equals the big. 2 times the small equals the big. Who is correct, and explain. So then they have your series of questions. What does it mean for BX to bisect? So remember, whenever we talk about bisect, it means about cutting something in half. And so we're going to say BX cuts the angle in half. BX cuts the angle in half. So then it says, how is angle ABC related to ABX and CBX? So we're going to put ABC, which is the whole thing, the measure of angle ABC equals ABX plus XBC. ABX plus XBC. And that's because of the angle addition postulate, because if you add this one and this one, it gives you the whole thing. And then it wants to know how ABX, which is a small one, and CBX are related. That'd be that they're equal. You could put equal, or you could write out, this. So you have your two equations. So now we've understood the problem. That's the first 3 parts. Now, to plan your solution, based on your answers, write an equation relating ABC and ABX. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change this XBC to be ABX because of substitution. And then we're going to say ABX plus ABX is 2ABX. So we're going to have the measure of angle ABC equals 2 times the measure of XBC by substitution and adding. By substitution and adding. Now, one of them says XBC, the other says CBX, but that's the same thing. And so I can replace it. And so if this takes the place of this one, I've got 2 identical angles, and so that's why I have 2 times XBC. All right. Okay, so then based on your answers, write an equation relating ABC and CBX. We already did that. It's the same thing. Well, it's like the same thing. So we'd say the measure of angle ABC equals 2 times what CBX is. So it looks a lot like the first one, except for it's CBX. Oh, did I do that one? Okay. That very first one did the same thing as this. This one should be ABX or XBA. If we can just change that first answer to put an A there. Sorry about that. Okay, so we've got 2 times this one is what ABC is, or 2 times this one. Any questions about that? Okay, so then based on your answers, write an equation for those. Well, we already know they're equal, so that's what they wanted. ABX equal CBX. So now to get your answer, do any of your equations match in the exercise? Yes, it did. Can you show using algebra that one of them is equivalent? Yeah, we're going to just say divide by 2 to get ABX equal 1/2 ABC. So when we divide it by 2 and get ABX by itself, then we get that. And then which student is correct? Both are correct. I'm just going to put both in the interest of time. Okay. Any questions about those? All right. Good job. Don't forget to work on your Math Excel.